Good afternoon everybody and welcome to Wild Earth on this glorious afternoon here in the Sabi Sands Djuma Game Reserve. Welcome on board Wendy, my name is Tara. Joining me on the camera this afternoon is Andrew, and back in final control is Brian and the thumb ever watching. Well, I came here in the hope that this pan might have contained somebody, but unfortunately there's not much water in it. So yeah, it was a gamble and it didn't pay off. But we are somewhere in Djuma. Maybe you guys will recognise where we are as we're driving. So if you want to actually send in where you think we are in Djuma, then send your answers through to questions@WildEarthTV, #SafariLive, and see if you can guess where we are. Now, I've started at this spot. As I say, I thought maybe we might be lucky with someone at the mud wallow. Maybe hyenas chilling out, or maybe buffalo, maybe warthogs, elephants. All sorts of animals do utilise the waterholes or the mud wallows. But we're also going to be heading due east, and we're going to keep going. So jump aboard, join us, and so we'll see if you guys know where we are. And there is also a reason why we are still heading east. And some people are kind enough to post the updates about Kunyuma, where she has been on her travels. She apparently was seen in the east, crossing from Torchwood onto Djuma. So I am hoping maybe we'll be lucky enough to catch up with her. So where on earth in Djuma are we? And a little bit more of an update on what might have happened to Tandy's cub. Some information came through that either a male leopard in Kunyuma might have killed one of the cubs, or the Sticks' female lions. And unfortunately lions, and especially the Sticks, are renowned for being leopard killers. That to me is more a likely scenario than Kunyuma having a role to play in it. As I said before, with the whole genetics and sharing genetics, and the fact that these leopards do interact with the offspring, I really wouldn't be surprised if Kunyuma has met Tandy's cubs at some stage, and also her other daughter's cubs. Tandy being Saseka, do we know as Saseka? Who's that?
Yala.
Hey, we have Nyala. Who's that behind? Is that the male behind them? You can just see dark shape. Ah, just a bush.
No, there's a male.
No, it is the male. Ah, it moved. I was looking at the bush in the screen there. Oh, he is beautiful. You'd be forgiven into thinking that it was actually a different species altogether, but no, the male is twice the size of the females, and he looks very different to the females. So he's got that charcoal colour to him with silver mane. I think the females are coming this way, so... Ah, thanks for the update at Gary Dam. Apparently the dam is very quiet, so the hippos obviously settled down. I'm just going to move back so hopefully we get to see these Nyala coming out into the open. Nope, they're not going to come this way. There's a really nice game trail here, you can see in your screen, but they're going a slightly different way. But he is following those females very closely, so it could be one is in estrus, and there's no other males around to fight off, so he has access to that female if she wants to breed with him. And he looked like a beautiful male. Yeah, they could come out actually just in that open area where you've got Looking at the shot now. See the movement behind the bushes. Come ladies, let's have a look at you. And oddly enough, yeah, I can see it. Oh, Inkunyeni is actually a female. Thanks, Wanda in Ohio. My memory's a little bit fuzzy on that one. I thought Inkunyeni was a male, but apparently it's actually a female. She's got 2 cubs. But it could be that Inkunyeni is not related to Karula and her family, in which case, again, there's no genetics shared. And having the female, there's the male. Yeah, I think the females, you could just see the ears passing. But obviously the male twice the size of the females. But yeah, as I say, the female doesn't, if she doesn't share any genetics with other females, then they're a direct competition for the resources. So it would make sense that it could be another female making or killing the cubs if they came across them. Sad but true. But yeah, Nyala are actually the cut-off point for the technical names: the bull, the ewes, the rams, the lambs, all that sort of thing. So you saw the size difference between the male and the female. So anything bull size, the bull size, the male size and above, the male is a bull, the female is a cow, and the calf, or the youngster, is a calf. Anything smaller than the female Nyala, same size, or Nyala or smaller, then you've got the female is the ewe, the male is the ram, and the baby is the lamb. Just to make things really difficult with the Nyala itself, that's because it's the cut-off point. You have the male is a bull, the female Nyala is a ewe. If it's a female offspring, it's lamb, and if it's a male offspring, it's a calf. Don't ask me why it's like that. I think it is because there's such a big difference in the size between the sexes. Ooh, look what we've got in the grass. Oh. Someone who's very shy. We're actually growing these guys very big here. Okay, the neck doesn't have any black on it. Let me just see if I can actually pull forward for you again. This one's actually quite a big one. Double check because it looks slightly different to what I'd expect on this particular bird, so I'm just checking that it isn't somebody else. Nope. It is in fact the female. That's why. Is the female black-bellied bustard, because there's absolutely no black on her at all, and she does have the very dark spots on her back, just like the male does. That's the first time I've actually seen a female. Very, very cool. I tend to see the males more than the females. So that is a female black-bellied bustard. She's got the white underneath. You still got her? Just about. And when the black-bellied bustard displays, he actually goes and stands on a termite mound or out in the open. And he's the one that sounds like a cork popping. So he brings his neck in and he goes, "Alright," as he brings his neck in, and he goes when as if the cork is popping. Very nice. So quite large, much larger than the red-crested coron. There we go. So this is the female. You can see those black spots on the back very nicely, and then this is the male here, and the black goes all the way up the neck, and so that's one thing that you start looking for straight away, is where the black is on the neck. Same with the red-crested coron. You can see the black starts on the belly, both for the male and the female, but they are a lot smaller than the black-bellied bustard. Very cool. Yeah, as I say, he pulls his neck and he's like, "What?" I don't know. And there is a bit of a delay to it as well. It's quite amusing. Everybody sitting up in the redwoods. Okay, has anybody come back about the road that we're on yet? Can you recognise it from that pan? Tim from Arkansas, Gary Buffalo cut line. Not quite, but a guess. That one is quite straight gap cut line. So it's a T-junction. This one's windy, 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 windy. We've actually got a drainage line to our right. Chris on Twitter, Mamba Road. Also very close, but also pretty straight, which is what confused me why I didn't pick it up the other day. Diane Chelapan, very close, Diane. You're the closest so far. Keep guessing, guys. Just slightly east of Chelapan. Wild asparagus just here, and it looks like it's actually growing up the tree. It's growing in the buffalo thorn. I've not seen that before, but just on the ground there you can see it's very nice and fluffy. But don't be fooled into thinking it's soft. There are very small thin spines on it, and it's possible it's to stop baboons ripping them up. But that is wild asparagus. Apparently you can eat the shoots just like the asparagus that you get in the shops. And it has beautiful red berries on it certain times of the year. Thought it's supposed to ward off lightning. If memory serves, also has bacterial properties. I tried the tuber underneath the soil. Sharon saying cheetah cut line. Nope, cheetah cut line is also pretty straight. But we are making our way to cheetah cut line. It's a road we don't often drive, but it's one of my favourites. And we're going to come up to a junction here. You might recognise it from this junction. Well, there can't be anything around here that's dangerous. You don't tend to get the monkeys on the ground. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. There was one that actually just stood on his back legs trying to have a look over the grass there. Oh, there he is again. Straight through there. The vervet monkeys. So obviously looking for insects and maybe any fallen fruits, any seeds. They are omnivores just like humans. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer for you. So it's likely the rest of the troop are all mixed around here. Ooh, Lynn, very close. Batley Road. Very, very close. So we've just come off of that road onto this road. Quarry Pan Road. Not quite, further west than that. So we're between Batley and Quarry Pan. The monkey went in the tree. Joe, we are on Central Road now. So what road did we take? What road did we start on? These trees here. The long and winding road. That was Barbara Dixon, wasn't it?
They're quite well camouflaged.
They are, eh? They went into these trees here, but I'm struggling to see them now. This is why we don't see the monkeys very often. Unless there's a predator around. So yeah, if there's a predator around, then they go. Or words to that effect. Put that rock there. There goes the mouse birds. Oh, there it goes. Gone. Too quick. Good spot though. Kathleen, Gary Pad, nope, still not there yet. Right, I'm on Central now, we're heading east. So where did we start the drive? Ah, almost! Chris saying you're north. Almost. Rebecca's Road, Martin, way off. Rebecca's Road is west, in the east. Well, we were quite kind of central, but we're not now. We're heading east. Lynn! Well done, Lynn. Nyala Road South, that is where we started. It was just as we came through Spaghetti Junction. And we started on Nyala Road South. Well done, Lynn. And Heather. Well done, ladies. So Karula apparently was seen heading west from Torchwood, so I thought we'd try this area again. We were trying here this morning, seeing if we could get lucky with the lady herself. It'd be lovely to catch up with her. Let's see if we can do a bit of driving around this area, see if we can get anything up from her. but I'm not sure what date it was. I do know Andrew was saying there was tracks of her yesterday morning, he told me. But I'm not sure. So there was a picture taken of her. I'm not sure when that was. I think we'll make our way up to Bubbleshook Dam and then maybe drive down Cheetahcook Line or vice versa. Maybe drive Cheetahcook Line up to Bubbleshook Dam and then come down Drakensberg Drive and then do a bit of a loop like that. Bush fax machine going again. Very vocal today. Just by the Djuma waterhole camera there was one chirping his little heart out. Where are you? I can hear you. Liquid whistle. Where are you? Ah, that's why. There he is. So, who sung it? Your bird for the day? What bird is this on your screen now? And hopefully you can hear that liquid call. The rest of the family a bit further south than where it's sitting now. Questions at WildEarthTV. Hashtag Safari Live. Who is the bird on your screen right now? Can you hear the whistles?
Yeah.
Oh, you can. Nice. So those whistles do belong to this bird. Generally live as a family. Cooperative breeders. So you get the father and... Ah, there we go.
This guy, this is not the fax machine guy.
No, this is not the fax.
That's the testicular, isn't it?
That's the testicular, yeah. The rattling testicular, or testicola, depending on how you want to say it. Looking at the tail helps. Should help to ID it. But yeah, you get the male and the female. Ah! Everybody getting it right. Well done. Who was first off the mark? The twins from Switzerland, Emily and Virginia, welcome back on board. Coming through the right answer first. Raisa, coming in close second, well done. And Heather and Valerie also. And Laura, Joan, RC as well. Great to hear you're all on board this afternoon. here you've got the magpie shrike. Unmistakable in this area. But great to hear you all got it right. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Actually, we didn't take Gwari Pan Road this morning, did we? I think we'll take Gwari Pan Road up, and we'll then take Cheese Cup line down, then maybe come in. Eddie's went that way. Your eyes put up for Eddie's. Maybe the dam, that would be very cool. Eddie's swimming again. Magpie shrikes are also, they're not alone being cooperative breeders. You quite often see the red-billed oxpeckers, and they'll be cooperative breeders as well. And it just increases the chances of the chicks being raised successfully. And a lot of that's got to do with the genetics again. So we're talking about the possibility of Kunyuma, the female leopard, possibly being the culprit for killing Tandy's cub. And if she's not directly related, then there is a chance that she may have actually killed it because it's actually a rival to her. So if this young cub actually grows up, it could be a rival for her own cubs. So if the cub is successful, it could just stop the success of her cubs and her genetics being passed on. So you do get animals who do adopt or keep on their offspring to help rear the next offspring. As I say, you have the birds, you have the helmeted shrikes that sometimes we do see, we have the magpie shrikes, the red-billed oxpeckers, and I think there's been quite an interesting research project done on pied kingfishers, and apparently where there is really good fishing in areas in Africa, they'll actually take on helpers. They will keep the offspring and maybe take them on until, where there is good fishing, they won't take on helpers, but where there's not so good fishing, they need the help to go and find food elsewhere. So then they'll take on the helpers. Just getting muddled up slightly in the head there. But yeah, where it's not good fishing, so they'll take on the helpers to try and increase the possibility of the chicks surviving. And as I say, the helpers, with them being offspring, they still share the genetics with the parents, but also with that of their siblings. So there is a vested interest to actually help rear the next generation. And even jackals, black-backed jackals will do that. They'll have a family. May help to rear the next generation, help the parents find food to bring back from pups. Obviously, wild dog, you get quite large packs, and the daughters will stay to help, as well as the sons. Jacqueline. Welcome back on board from Savannah. Good to hear you back with us. And Jacqueline would like to know what kind of woodpeckers we get here. We get quite a variety of woodpeckers. Haven't heard them too much. But the common ones you tend to get are the bearded woodpecker. And that one you'll hear tapping on the wood quite loudly because it's a form of communication as well as looking for grubs. When you do hear a woodpecker, it is likely to be that. Mongoose as well. How can I forget the mongoose? The meerkats and the banded and the dwarf mongoose also help the youngsters help rear the next generation. We also have the cardinal woodpecker. In fact, actually, let me just show you quickly. There's a couple of pages of woodpecker in the book we found here. 276. Which starts on this page. So the cardinal has the red cap on his head. And the way to distinguish the many different species of woodpecker, you look at what's going on the head, what's called the malar stripe and the moustachial stripe, so they're different stripes on the face. So the moustachial comes out here, the malar down here, and then what's going on the breast, so the streaks on the breast. So those are the three key areas that you check on when looking at woodpeckers. And then we've got this page full of woodpeckers as well. So there is quite a number of them. But you can see the heads are all different.
So this is the common one.
So the most common is the bearded. This is the one that you hear knocking on the wood as well as a form of communication. And he's quite distinctive. He's got a lot of black on his face and pretty large as well. Yeah, he's about 23 to 25 centimetres. But you can see a size difference with him compared to other woodpeckers. The male has the red and the female has the black on the head. And you can see actually on this picture the two toes forward and the two toes back. And that's known as being a zygodactyl foot. And that allows the birds to climb up and down the branches so they can get in amongst the holes and everything. So you do have other birds that are adapted like that as well. So you tend to get the clambering birds with that kind of foot structure just to help them climb up and down. If I remember rightly, I think the barbets have that as well. And the oxpeckers, I seem to think, the oxpeckers. So my mind's a bit hazy on that one. But the normal is the three toes forward and the one toe back. That's what a lot of us are familiar with the perching birds, the songbirds. So we are on Guaripan Road now, heading towards Buckensfoot Dam in the hope that maybe we'll see some movement from Karula, our resident female leopard. And if you have just joined us, welcome on board. You are joining a live safari here in Africa. Harlequin, new name for the safari. Welcome on board. Great to hear from you. And if, just like Harlequin, if you would like to ask a question during our live safari, then send your questions through to questions@WildEarthTV, #SafariLive, and you can ask whatever it is that you'd like to ask. you're seeing something on screen and a question pops into your head, then send it in. But Harlequin would like to know, if there was another leopard that killed the cub, would she not have eaten the cub? Or do leopards not do that? And apparently there has been cases documented of leopards eating other leopards. And apparently if cubs do get killed by other leopards, sometimes the mother will actually eat the offspring. Apparently that has been documented as well. But it could be she just killed it and she wasn't hungry, but she just killed it because it's a rival. It could be that she killed it and got disturbed. Maybe the mother did come through or did find her with it and chased her off. There's a whole number of scenarios. But interesting to hear that it might not have been the hyenas this time, but the body was actually, or the carcass was actually found at the hyena den, but apparently it was smelling already, which suggested that maybe they found it out in the bush and they brought it back to the den. And it's actually the den we've been visiting on Cheetah Cub Line. Blue sky. A few clouds building, but that wind is still very, very pleasant. Actually keeping the temperature down quite nicely. Good afternoon, no update as yet. Not heard anything about them this afternoon. Copy that. I'm just making my way to Bullsup Dam now. There's the magpie shrike spawning again, another family. So apparently, the other update I forgot to tell you about, lots of spider web. This is actually how spiders do get about. So if you ever wonder why on earth you just get this one strand of web out of nowhere, it's called ballooning. And I'm getting wrapped up in it. It is called ballooning, and the spiders will let out a bit of silk and let the wind just take them away. It's almost like a parachute, they're light enough. So yeah, so another update I forgot to tell you about from this morning. Apparently the two Matimba lions were seen south of Gary May, somewhere around Hoffman's. So I definitely have to check in and find out if they are making their way up towards Triple M or across Triple M. But if they do get onto our boundary, it would be great to try and see them. But as yet, they're still south, but not with the Styx females anymore. It sounded like maybe they were following the Styx females for mating opportunities. So the Matimbas are part of a pride of 5, and 3 of them stay in the Manuletti further north from us. That should be that way, won't it? That's north, it's east. Kruger's that way, Manuletti's that way. So the 3 usually knock around in the Manuletti, and the 2 head down south onto Gary, which is where we are, and further south than that. And And I finally got the name of that other lion from the Birmingham Pride. He was called Scrapper. That was the lion. So apparently Blondie's always been with the Birmingham Pride, but it's Scrapper who was missing in action for 2 weeks. But with them being 5 again, it's likely that Scrapper has come back to join them. But they were still to the west. That's the last that we've heard of them. And they were on a buffalo carcass a few days ago, I think it was now. Okay, so we're just approaching Buffalo Dam. Nice and sheltered here, it's having a nice look in here. And we'll have to just check out the dip, because that is Karula's, one of Karula's haunts. We have caught her there once or twice. Let's just see if there's anything going on this side, and then we'll go through to the other side. See if the hippos. We were here this morning. Hello, hippos. Hi, Sally in the UK. Great to hear you're on board this afternoon. I'm glad to hear that you're actually enjoying the drives. And Sally just wants to know how long I'm going to be here for. Not to upset anybody. But yeah, I'll be leaving on Monday when Mark gets back. Mark's going to be taking over the drives again. So I was just coming in just to relieve Mark so he could take leave for a couple of weeks. It looks like there's still 3 hippos in the dam. I think you had them on your screen. What you got? Go on then, Andrew, who's that? If you want to maybe just pan to the tree to our left. There you go, everybody. So you had the bird on your screen, and this is going to help to ID it for you. Questions at WildEarthTV. #Safari Live. Who's that bird? And this is the nest that it builds. Looked like it was a juvenile. It had a very pale beak. We've got on the other side there. Hello, woodland kingfisher. Actually, can you maybe pan to the water's edge? We've got the blacksmith lapwings there, but we've also got the water thick-knees, otherwise known as didcops, a while ago. And now, oh, no, that's the lapwings flying off. I think it's still there. Yeah, there we go. The water thick-knees. So you see those around the Djuma waterhole quite a lot. Get that very high-pitched whistling. And they are one of the few birds that can actually eat millipedes that we saw the other day. Remember, millipedes do actually have quite a high level of cyanide in them, so very few animals can actually feed on them, but the water thickney is one of them. I just happened to come across... Oh, there's a baby hippo displaying, look. Your teeth are going to have to grow a little bit bigger to be more intimidating than the one. Yeah, I just happened to come across another animal. We actually saw it at the den site of the hyena the other day. And the plated lizard, yellow-throated plated lizard, one of the animals we saw the other day very briefly, that also eats millipedes, which I had forgotten about. We've got the baby hippo. Quite often you'll see baby hippos resting on the parent, hitching a ride or just snoozing. And they are able to drink milk underwater or on land, but obviously when in the water they're less likely to be attacked by predators if they're suckling on the land. So, southern masked weaver. Oh, actually, I should have checked which nest you were on. Okay, so it's not the dangling ones. You need to go further up. That one. There we go. That big one there. That's the giveaway. Sorry, I didn't see the hanging nest. So, unfortunately, that led you astray a little bit. So, it's not the masked weaver. It is the buffalo weaver. It's black in colour. Oh, yes, come. European beaters flying in. Hey, a few people did manage to get the... Ah, there we go. Well done. Few people managed to get the buffalo weaver. It was a juvenile buffalo weaver. And there is the European beaters. Been dying to catch them on camera for you guys. And Andrew's doing a magnificent job trying to keep up with them.
It's too quick for me.
I don't know, I think you kept it on the screen quite long. There's one just hovering there, look. And the beaters do have that very characteristic triangular flight. I thought they'd already started flying north, but they're still around. So cool. Sitting right in the top of the torchwood that we're sitting under. There he goes. Oh, nice. Taking a bath. Oh, they're so beautiful. They really are. If they do actually land, we may get them hawking, because they do tend to use a branch. And they'll fly back to the same branch again. It looks like there's a few insects around. I think they are actually catching insects from the surface of the water by the looks of it, because there's one actually hitting, you can hear it hitting the insect on the branch. And that's how they kill the insects, and they can eat them. And as I say, with them being called bee eaters, they do eat bees, and they'll hit the bee on the branch, so the sting actually falls out, and they can eat the bee without getting stung. And that's also why they have a very long bill, so they don't get stung in the face when they do go after a bee. Just trying to see if we can get them on a nice branch for you. But you can see all those buffalo weaver nests. Pretty huge compared to the weaver bird nest. There we go, come on. Land, 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 land. One of these branches that's sticking out. Nope. So, there we go, there we go. Yes, just in front of us. Look at that. How stunning is this bird? Absolutely beautiful. And a lot of those colours come from the fact that they do eat the insects. They're called carotenoids. But the reds and the yellows and the turquoise and the greens, it really is. You see why I'm getting so excited to show you it. It's giving us such a beautiful display. Oh, I'm so chuffed they haven't flown north yet. Definitely not the easiest bird to catch up with, but Andrew is doing such a good job. And the woodland's saying, hey, what about me? Oh, we did see the pied kingfishers here earlier. Hoping maybe they'd make an appearance. I can hear the rest of the flock above us. Nice bush. What do you see? Oh, there we go. There's the beater, just above the weaver nest. Yeah, it's a little bit closer. And again, hitting an insect on the branch. There he is. So it's just worth spending just a little bit of time just to see if anyone does walk down to the water's edge. So the red-billed buffalo weavers was the answer for the bird. A few francolins calling. I think it's worth us maybe taking it. I don't think this one has actually got a name, but it's worth us taking it. And the blacksmith lapwing. Sounds like he caught us something again. Very peaceful. Cool. Alrighty. Well, we'll just poke our nose in around the overflow. Just make sure that no one's hiding around there. Oh dear. Actually, do you want to maybe just jump off just in case I drive over them? That might not be such a good idea.
Keep a look.
Hi, Marsha from Kentucky. Welcome on board to you this afternoon. And why are there so many colourful birds in the old world compared to the new world birds? The old world is Africa and new world is South America. I'm just trying to remember, I think Asia's also classed as the old world. Maybe someone can just remind me of that. that's when we talk about old world and new world. Old world is kind of the old world that was known about, and then the new world was discovered later. So you talk about old world monkeys and new world monkeys. Fairly sure Asia is classified as the old world as well. Memory serves me correctly. But I'm actually not overly familiar with the New World's birds, so I couldn't honestly say. I'm not so clued up on that side of things. Maybe someone out there might know. If the birds from the New World, or the Old World, are more brighter than the birds from the New World. Might be something to do with the fact that they're in a jungle environment, so it might be that they don't want to be brightly coloured because they'll stand out too much, so they need to be slightly more drab in colour. But I'm not seeing any movement, I'm not seeing anyone underneath any of these bushes. So there's one or two really nice resting points. There goes the kingfisher. Woodland kingfisher taking a bath again this afternoon. But other than the birds and the hippos, there's not much happening this side, so maybe I think we'll leave going to the other side of the dam. Maybe we're just checking this drainage line, because I say Karula, we have seen her there before. There's the woodlands kingfisher. Say that beautiful electric blue. And unfortunately we're going to be losing a lot of the kingfishers and the beaters and the cuckoos. They're going to start migrating very soon. Sorry, Ephraim, can you repeat? Sorry, did you say you got a lock? Okay, copy, no worries. Simon Vubu, Bubbleshook Dam, Blue 2Ls. Negative. There was 2 twin dams this morning. Sorry, can you send that one again, please? Thanks, Joan. Joan in the UK. Yeah, Asia is the old world. Yeah, I thought so. It's just nice to have that confirmation. Thanks, Joan. Appreciate it. Just turning around so we can go. Just check out this drainage line here, just in case Karula is lying there. Yeah, we're going to be losing the European beaters going up north to Europe. So they are Paleo-Arctic migrants, as they're called. They're going north. And then we have inter-African migrants like the kingfishers. So they're going to go to the centre areas of Africa. The cuckoos also inter-African migrants. We also get altitudinal migrants. So the paradise flycatchers may migrate into different altitudes. for the winter and the summer. And I certainly notice it on the reserve that I work on. We have quite a big difference between the valleys and the mountains. We don't tend to see the flat very much in the valleys. Hello, you around? I can hear those bee eaters, they're really high up. Okay, so I'm just going to go back through this dip and we'll go out that way. Might just lose you again. Okay, so hopefully we didn't lose you that time. Lots of ruts in the road. Really rodent, these little ruts caused by the rain. It's a little bit bumpy. Yeah, I seem to remember this was quite a nice little loop onto Cheetah Line. And we did just hear Franklin's over the way here from the alarm calls, so maybe let's see. Hi George, welcome on board from sunny Florida again. And I hope you're enjoying your morning coffee. Enjoying the sights and sounds of the African bush this afternoon. And George would like to know when my last drive will be. I believe it will be Monday morning. So it will be, what, your Tuesday evening? No, Sunday evening for you. But as I say, we don't need to worry about that just yet. We still have a few more drives left. Still plenty to see. And plenty of time to see Karula, hopefully. Keep my fingers crossed. But it has just been wonderful coming back after 3 years. I still cannot believe it's been 3 years. I'd say all the old haunts for the animals are starting to come back as well. The animals do have their favourite places. But after 3 years, it can change as well. You know, it's just like humans. Our lives do change, as do theirs. Things happen, new faces come on to the scene. Sometimes they leave, sometimes the residents leave. It is a fact of life that it all changes. Thanks, Debbie in New Jersey, and we've got another male Nyala this afternoon for you. So Debbie in New Jersey saying that the Tropical New World birds are very colourful. Yeah, I thought I had it in my head that they would be, but as I say, I've not visited that area. I've not really read up too much on South America.
I wonder if you can go a fraction back. There's a big piece of grass.
Yeah, we'll see. But there we go, we can roll. I think the wind's just going to keep blowing it no matter where I am, to be honest. Yeah. You're a beautiful boy. I didn't want to disturb you. Look so nice and relaxed there. At least you can see that charcoal black I was telling you about with the male Nyala. And big ears, just like the cousin, the kudu. Not as big as the kudus, but still fairly big. Okay, mister. No one really knows why they've got that white band across the nose. It's almost like it actually points towards the eyes, but even the kudu have it. That one has yet to be discovered why the purpose for having that white band. I'm actually going to move on and leave him just so that he doesn't feel he has to run. Welcome on board this afternoon, Lisa. And Lisa would like to know if we've come across her. There's another Nyala bull here. Apparently this is the place to hang out if you're a Nyala. It is nice and dense vegetation around here, so I don't blame them. They do eat the leaves, they are browsers. There's plenty of food here. Just going to see if I can get around the corner here. Might be able to see him a little bit clearer. Good. So Lisa wanting to know if we've seen any lions on drive, and we have. We actually were privileged to follow one of the big male lions, one of the Matimbas, and we followed him for a good couple of hours on drive the other morning. And we are actually at boundaries of the territories of lions, and it sounds like it hasn't changed from the 3 years. So we used to get the Styx females pushing in from the south. You can hear the grey hornbill flying overhead. And we also used to get the Kunyuma females. They would come in from the east. And the Saladas would come in from the west. And then the males as well, we'd get the Majingilans and the Matimbas. Matimbas pushing in from the north, from the Manuleti, and the Majingis pushing in from the south. So this is almost like the crossroads for them. This is where the boundaries overlap quite considerably. So Andrew, the guy that I bumped into the other day, reckons he's going to try and sort lines out for us. I managed to find him a leopard the other day. That would be fantastic to see the lions once again. And you see this male also showing off that white shock of mane down his back. Hi, Happy Cub in Pennsylvania. Welcome on board to you again. Good to hear from you. Happy Cub wanting to know how old Nyala get. Well, mine's a little bit fuzzy on how old they get. I'd say roughly around 18. 18 years old. Wow, he's gone. Disappeared. Very normal to see Nyala bulls by themselves. They're solitary, they're not territorial, but they will fight for the rights to mate with females. If 2 or 3 males happen to come across each other when there's a female in estrus. So then you'll get that beautiful display, and let's say that shock of white mane down his back will stand up and he'll arch his back. Oh, he looks stunning when he starts displaying. It really is quite a sight to see. But yeah, I'd say age-wise, it's a very distant memory, probably around mid to late teens, like expectancy from the island. You can see the horns also spiraled, but only slightly, not as deeply spiraled as the kudu. But he was quite an old bull, that one. Again, the keratin at the tip of the horn is starting to wear off. You can see that white tip very nicely from years of them horning the vegetation, displaying, and also the mud as well. Although I don't think they actually put mud on the horns like the hartebeest do. Apparently the hartebeest, the males will actually cape mud onto the horns to try and make the horns look thicker and more appealing to the females. And I have actually seen them do it. So the theory goes it's to make them more appealing to the females. It shows how much more robust the horns are when it comes to fighting. Animals do some very odd things, but I suppose we do as well. Wildebeest. Apparently the females find it very attractive if the male wildebeest roll in their own dung. But they do have a standard. Oh wow. Yeah. Funny, BJ, I'm sorry, you're making me feel cold just talking about minus numbers here for temperatures. Apparently it's -1 in Pennsylvania. Oh, yeah, I'm feeling like I'm going to get goosebumps. Yeah, I'm not built for the cold weather, I'm really not. I'm not sure what the temperature is now. I'd say it's probably about 30, 32, would you say?
33 and a half.
You're saying 33 and a half? The half's very important. So we are on Buffalo's Hook cut line now, and if I'll get to the top and turn around and just show you how straight it is, because this was an old fence line between the properties. Fence lines came down around the 1950s, if I remember rightly, at which point the animals could move freely between the properties and the Savi Sands, which collectively make up about 65,000 hectares. And they can also go, the Kruger boundary is actually right up ahead of us. If we kept driving east for about 4 k's-ish, 5 k's, we would hit Kruger boundary. And the animals can move freely from there. The Manuletti, which is to the north of us now, to the left. was to really help provide a more natural environment for the animals so they could actually organise themselves more naturally than if they're enclosed in small areas. I'm just going to turn around so you can actually see how straight this road is. Down there. If you can point the camera. There we go, straight down. Hi, John. Hey, John from Scotland. Welcome on board, John. John wants to know, barring any incidences, how long can lions live for? Not very long lived, actually. Females around 12 years of age, males about 10 years of age. So there you go, you can see how straight Buffalo's Hook cut line is. We're going to go south now on Cheetah Cut Line, see if there's any tracks from a lady. Oh, we've got some hyena tracks coming on. Oh, leopard tracks. I thought you said big tracks.
Maybe bigger than it. Sand is soft.
There was a reason why I was ignoring the big tracks.
Pretty much right behind that.
Okay.
Still right.
That is lion going that way. That is a big male lion. Are you able to get that one there? Yeah. There you go, you can see the three lobes really nicely. And the big toes. Going north into Buffalo's Hook. So unfortunately we can't follow them. And a partial elephant track as well. So to give you an idea of the size, looking about that sort of size of that lion track, pretty big. Size-wise, the toes spreading out so far shows is a lion. I'm just going to let the guys know. Looks old, but they might want to follow up on it. A couple of sets of Ngara and Konzo are heading north into Buffalo's Hook. Buffalo's Hook Cut Line, Cheetah Cut Line Junction. So we have Torchwood on our left, and apparently Krula came across. I'm not too sure how high up she came over. So we'll do this section and maybe turn down Mamba Road or Battalier Road and try those roads. It looks like this road was driven quite a lot. actually one of the very first times I met Karula's family. She had a kill along this road here. So it is one of her stomping grounds. This is what I would consider the edge of her boundary. We often followed Karula up this road while she was scent marking, which tended to suggest it was the boundary. And she wouldn't tend to deviate from here. I did see her deviate once. She actually went off into the Torchwood, caught an impala and came straight back with it, and had it in a tree within her boundary. And they will often do that. They tend to have the core area that they will scent mark, and then they will go beyond those boundaries, and that's termed the home range, and that's where they would go find food, maybe water in times where there's not too much water available. Lots of vehicle activity, so if there is any tracks here, we know that they fresh from just after drive this morning. To get those when we're too close. I think I need to just, we'll just add a shot for them. Let me just see if I can make the angle slightly better. Is that any better? I'm just trying to get alongside them if I can, just so that you can actually see them at a better angle. See them now?
A little bit back and I'll be able to see it.
Okay, you're gonna have to guide me. I've got this thing on my screen. There we go. It's not really coming out, unfortunately. That's a shame. Let me just show you the track in the book. Maybe you guys will get this one. It's not an animal I've been talking about too much. It's nocturnal. But you might just get it. Okay. There you go. So those tracks there, that is what's on the ground. But we're just not seeing it too nicely, unfortunately. See the toes and then the back pad. All the toes are very small. If I can give you a size reference, you're looking about that sort of size. It's very, very small. In fact, my thumb would fit quite neatly over the top of it. So that's the size. So what animal? First of all, think to yourselves, with the toes and the back pad, what's it likely to eat? And then go from there. And what animal is likely to have such small feet? So who dung it this afternoon? Questions at WildEarthTV or hashtag Safari Live. Who dung it? Nocturnal creature. Apparently he was out at some stage during the day. There has been the odd occasion I have seen this animal out and about if it's got disturbed, or maybe there's some reason that it still is hunting, but generally speaking is nocturnal. Oh wow, check all the spider webs on this tree here. Wow, look at that. And actually you might be able to make out, this is a tropical tent web spider, and you can see there's almost like a sheet in the middle of your screen, and then there's a lot of wires above it, and those are trip wires, so anything flying around will be caught on those trip wires. A little bit lower down, it's all of that triangle above it, that's all the trip wires, and then it will land on that sheet that's just to the bottom of your screen now, and then the spider can actually catch it from the underneath. Tropical tent web spider. Very small spiders though. Nothing like the size of the golden orbs that we've been seeing.
There's a spider.
Ah, and that's the garden orb. A much thicker abdomen than the golden orb. It looks like she hasn't, maybe someone's been through her web because she hasn't got the full orb around. But you can see the black and yellow banding. Caracal, civet and serval? Nope. Ah, who got that one? Caracal, serval and civet, not quite right, but they all eat meat. Ah, well done Raisa from Finland. Raisa's really becoming quite a tracking pro. Well done Raisa. Raisa getting the correct answer. It was the genet. Was the genet. So genet's about that big, nose to the base of the tail, and including the tail are about that big. Stand about that high. About domestic cat size, a little bit smaller. So the genet. So you don't tend to see the genet very often. It is a nocturnal creature. Eats young birds from the nest, eggs, if you can get hold of them. Lizards, rodents. I've got a genet that comes into my camp actually. And I heard a funny noise right by my sink one night, and I came out and it's sitting there because my sink and everything's open. And it was sitting there on the drainage board eating. There was a little bit of leftover food that someone had left in the place that was supposed to have been washed up. It was there eating it. And it's actually getting to the point it's starting to walk in front of the kitchen now. The kitchen's all open plan. I cook pretty much everything on the open fire. I do a lot of cooking. Oh, eddy tracks heading that way. Pretty fresh. There should be eddies around here somewhere. went that way. Now they come back on the road. Ah, Tomanitis. Well done to you as well, getting the jennet. Well done. It has some black and white rings around the tail as well. Looks a little bit like a lemur, ring-tail lemur. But not a primate, it is a carnivore. And it's part of the cat suborder, the Felidaes. They're distantly related to the cats, but they can't retract the claws, they're not a true cat. But they're closely related, at this point in time, they're closely related to the civet, the African civet. They both fall into the same order. Early tracks still carry on, as do our hyena tracks, but no leopard tracks. That makes me sad. These flies. Big Eddie turned off that way. Might be worth us doing Drakensberg. We'll turn into Drakensberg and maybe go up again. Because I know there's been another vehicle that's done twin dams around that area. So we're currently heading south on Cheetah Cub Line. We are going to turn on to Drakensberg. Just thinking, we have seen ostrich around here as well. I know someone was asking about ostrich the other day, and cheetah. Yes, wild dog pup. I thought you were going to say there was actually a wild dog on the camera. Quick, get to Gary down, there's a wild dog. No. But welcome on board this afternoon, wild dog pup. The game excited then. And Wild Dog was saying, have I heard about the Janet Jackson who was riding on the back of a buffalo? And I have. I've seen those camera trap pictures. Absolutely incredible. The Janet actually riding on the back of a buffalo. Can you believe it? Oh, if you got to travel, travel in style. Think of worse ways to travel. This is what makes camera traps so interesting, because you leave them and just let them get on with what they're doing. And you can catch so much information. And that's what I'm using for my research, using the camera traps. And Raisa's actually one of my citizen scientists who's on board, and she helps me ID the leopards that I catch on camera. So each leopard has got their own ID kit, And all we do is just literally what you guys do with the leopards. You match up those pictures that we have that we know are that leopard and put them and try and match up the spots on the pictures of the leopards that we get and ID them like that. So I usually take 2 or 3 areas on the leopard. Alright.
All's good.
Cool. So yeah, take 2 or 3 areas because each leopard is unique spot pattern, and any animal that has some form of spot pattern or stripe pattern that is unique to that particular animal. So even the kudu, the nyada that we've seen earlier, you could potentially ID them from the shape of the horns, but also the stripe pattern on their body. And the reason why I take 2 or 3 areas is just to confirm, just to make sure that that animal is who we're saying it is. So I just take 2 or 3 areas just to confirm that. Say we're lucky here in the sands, we get to see the faces a lot. So we recognise these leopards by their facial spot patterns. My leopards, on the other hand, like to show their rump to the camera on a fairly regular basis. So I get to know the rump of my leopards rather than the front of the leopards. And the inside of the legs, you have no idea how important the inside of the legs are. It was funny with the quarantine male sitting in the tree, I was looking at his legs, looking at his spot patterns. It's amazing what you get used to. But yeah, the inside leg, especially for the nighttime shots, because the rest of the animals generally blurred, but the legs stay in focus. But occasionally they stand right in front of the camera. I had a beautiful one of the leopard just standing right in front and just turning his head. Which side do you like? This side or this side? It's definitely a bit of a poser. He's one of the young males. And we do get a lot of activity during the day from the leopards. About 30% diurnal activity and 70% nocturnal activity. Right out in the open, 42 degrees, with a magpie shrike in the tree here. Slightly longer tail than the one that you guys were IDing, which says it's the male. The male have slightly longer tails than the females. And again, that's to show how fit they are. So the longer the tail, the more fit they are, because obviously it's going to be a hindrance flying around with it. So that's quite often why males actually have the long tails. Still haven't worked out why the females have the long tails though in this species and the flycatcher, although as I say they are shorter. But it might serve the same purpose for the males to see how fit the females are, because they are paired and they'll stay together. So maybe they want to make the right decision. Used to be called a long-tailed shrike, but now called the magpie shrike. I say they have done experiments. Swallows are the other one, and that's who they did the experiments on. And they actually extended the tail lengths just by a millimetre or two, and the females were definitely selecting for longer tail lengths than shorter ones. But the females could also tell if the tail was too long, and they suddenly realised there was something funny going on and gave those males a wide berth. And they went a step further and they actually found the females who selected for the longer tails. It seemed to be that there was less brood parasites in the nest. Quite interesting. So maybe she didn't contract when she mates with the males with the longer tails. She doesn't contract as many parasites. That could be why. So shorter-tailed mates have more parasites on them, and maybe she contracts more of them and they get into the nest. Who knows? That could be the reason why. That's Battalier Road. Shall we take Battalier? Yeah, let's take Battalier. I need to get some ear guards. These flies were insisting on stopping on my ear. Thought they might run into those eddies this side, but apparently not. The orb, the web. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. I need to move back a bit maybe. The sun was shining on it, quite pretty. Looks like a golden orb. Although, actually no, I tell a lie. It's just that because there's a lot of gold in the sun, it's looking a little bit golden. But the thread is actually see-through, so this could actually be a golden orb, like we saw. Where the tropical tent web spider is, but that's normal for them. But they tend to have quite a thickening of white, and it's almost like a zigzag. But I wonder if someone's actually come and taken the spider away, because there's a hole in the centre where the spider would normally sit. So it could be the spider fell prey rather than catching its prey. Could have been a bird. I think it's a little bit too high up for a dwarf mongoose. I have seen dwarf mongoose take spiders off webs. It's a little bit half the ground.
Is it only the females that
Yeah, the females are the only ones making the web, and then the males will actually live on the web. The males are much smaller than the females. Hey, hornbill. Could have even been a hornbill, actually. Seems as he's around here. I wouldn't put it past him. Hornbills literally eat anything they can get the bills around. It looks like he has eaten something in it. If he's wiping his bill like that, there could have been something sticky on it. Could well have been part of the web. You never know. Red-billed hornbill. Here he goes. But yeah, they have this white zigzag down the centre of the web, and it sort of acts a bit like a shock absorber. So if there is anything that flies into the web and it's a little bit too big, the web doesn't break immediately. That's the theory behind it anyway. Emily in Virginia, you've got to be the first people to ever ask me about grass. Wanting to know a bit about the grass and the soil here. And you have seen the finger grass. Just trying to see if I can get a nice one for you. And would you believe it, I'm not seeing the one that I'd like to talk to you about. There's a lot of layman's love grass by the looks of it here. I'll keep a lookout for the finger grass and show you. Oh, there we go, just on the left here. That's the finger grass. If memory serves me correctly, it's Digitara arantha. And it's called the finger grass literally because the tip of it looks like fingers. And this is actually a very nutritious grass, and animals quite often like to feed on it. There's not much red grass around here, which is one of the other ones that's very nutritious, and buffalo grass. I have seen some buffalo grass around, but this one in particular. So it's those long ones on the stalks, and yeah, I'm not seeing. There's another one, but this one is a climax species. Now, I was hoping to maybe find you the tail redtop. It's usually around here. I forget what the layman's love grass is. I think that's an intermediate. As I say, I don't have it round my way. But you have what's known as a pioneer species. So if there's a road that's been put through the reserve, so like the road that we're on, it disturbs the soil, and quite often the wind and the water will actually leach any nutrients away. So you're basically starting from bare ground with very little nutrients. So you have these plants that are able to come in and survive in that harsh environment, and those are the pioneers. And as the pioneers go through their cycle, they're usually annuals, so they'll die after the year, and they'll start introducing nutrients into the soil. Now it gets to the stage where there's enough nutrients that the subclimax species that do need more nutrients start out-competing the pioneers for those nutrients. So then the pioneers no longer exist in that area. It's the subclimax, which, as I say, if memory serves me correctly, the layman's love grass, which is all this one that you see dancing in the wind in the sunlight, all that feathery stuff. Or it'd be a kind of love grass at least, if it's not the layman's. And the intermediates will do the same process. They'll die off, they'll introduce more nutrients into the soil, and eventually you get the species that need a lot of nutrients, and they will then outcompete. Because they need a lot of nutrients, they're also very nutritious and usually very tasty for the animals to eat. And the same goes with the trees and the bushes as well. So that's where you get the grasses close to the road, and the trees start to develop in an area over many years. And it's actually called succession. That's the process, what it's called. But it's the same thing. So you start off with the grasses, with the pioneers, and the bushes, which are pioneers, and then you get the intermediates, and then you get the climax species, which the trees usually fall under. So the bushes tend to be the intermediates. But that's how the actual area grows up, from bare ground to what you see around you, which is quite amazing really if you think about it. So thanks for bringing that up, ladies. We do have a mixed feld here, so we do have a lot of broadleaf trees as well as acacias, which are associated with alkaline soils, and the broadleaf associated with acid soils. So acid soils usually come from the rocks like granite. So with it being acidic, you get the broadleaves. So these are just the trees that have a very broad leaf, and the acacias associated with the alkaline soils. In Kruger there's a lot of basalt, which is alkaline. So you get a lot of the acacias as well. So we're known as a mixed feld because we have both. If it's dominantly just acacias, then it's known as a sweet veld, and high nutritious plants and grasses. And you do get, there we go, this is a pioneer, just to the left, because it's all dying off now. Actually, there's some here as well. It's lost its colour. This is one. This is a pioneer. Very pretty. It's actually red when it's first flowering. So this is Natal red top. And it's almost like little cotton wool buds on the end of the stalks. And as I say, it goes white once it's fruited and the seeds have dispersed. Excuse me. And as a field guide, you do need to know about all this connection. So really your base rock will dictate what vegetation you have, and it's the vegetation that will dictate what animals you can have. And that's why it's important for a field guide to understand that, and obviously it's part of the circle of life. Another tropical tent web spider here. Just on the left you see there's sunlight catching it. There you go. Another one there. So these spiders are very small. Ah, there is some red grass, there we go. This is also another one. Actually looks like these are lampshades, they hang down. And you can see it's a nice red colour, that's where it gets its name from. So this is a highly nutritious grass, highly sought after. Apparently very tasty to the animals. Hi Bill, in New Jersey. Welcome on board, Bill. And is hay fever a problem with these grasses? Yeah, there are quite a number of people that do have hay fever and they do get affected by the grasses. They're actually quite pretty, hey? They really are. Especially when the sun's shining on them like they are. Many different species of grass, in the hundreds. And I'm really bad, I really should know the breakdown number-wise, but me and numbers, as I'm sure you guys have already found, are not, we don't get on too well. Something keeps telling me up around the 300 mark, but maybe someone can check out for me. I think around the 300 mark in South Africa. Some more red grass on the left here. Little patches of it every so often. But yeah, I think you're probably the first ones in the history of me guiding that you've actually asked about grass. And that's 9 years. It's almost a decade. That's almost a third of my life. Wow. I was only supposed to be out in South Africa for a year, can you believe it? Ah, I seem to remember there's a hyena den around here. Not particularly well used. here somewhere. It might be one of these two in front. I do remember once or twice visiting here. Unless it was this one. A little bit further back, but it might have been that one. I remember it was fairly close to the road. Oop. Staying on the road would help, hey? Look how pretty that is. Ah, that's just so pretty. Anybody in that drainage line? There should be. It's a perfect place to hide out. Nice and cool. It's funny what you remember. I actually remember getting a question on this road, or actually no, it wasn't a question. It was a statement that got sent through, and it was from the mother of a little boy called Jake, and he was autistic, and he would watch the drives pretty much every day with his mum, and she actually said, I was just listening to Franklin's calling, and that's what triggered the statement that came in. And she said that Jake had told her that there was birds calling outside, and they had to go look outside because there was a predator around where the birds were. And as she said that, or as he said that, they went outside to have a look, and there was actually a cat underneath the tree. And she was so chuffed he actually put into practice something he'd learned on Wild Earth. It's amazing what sticks with you. This is your Who Dung It number 2 for this afternoon. Remember, it's tracks and signs, not just dung. And this is a sign of the bush. So it's roughly about a metre off the ground. What is it? What's happening here? Why is it a different colour? Look at what it's next to. If you can pan down, there's a game trail here. Now, game trails get made by animals going through the bush, but they actually take the easiest route, just like humans do. We don't want to waste our energy bunda bashing. So instead they take the easier route, and then the next animal will take the easier route, and you get... Hello. You do get these game trails being formed because the amount of animals that use these routes. Now, that Franklin came from the other side, which is close to where we started this morning. So maybe let's just drive around and see if we can see something. So put in the subject title, subject line of your email, questions at WildEarthTV. What happened there? Hashtag Safari Live. So a lot of people coming back with a rubbing post. That is correct, it is a rubbing post. Just having a look in this little pan here. Chances are the animal is using this mud wallow and then using that rubbing post to rub the mud off. Because remember, the mud will actually stick to the skin and any parasites that are on there, and then they'll go and rub it off once it dries, ready to be able to put on the new layer. But once it dries around any parasites, and as they rub the mud off, the parasites come out with the mud. Genius. So it is a rubbing post. It could be anything. So warthog, buffalo and elephant. Who were the first people with the rubbing posts? It was a little bit high off the ground for warthog. Okay, so everybody coming back with the rubbing post. But is it buffalo? Is it elephant? So yeah, rubbing post for an elephant. Yeah, it could be a young elephant. It could be a buffalo. It could be a young rhino. Any of those. Okay, we're in the drainage line. We're going to go round to Battalier Road, Vulture's Nest and Nyala Road south again, just to have a quick look to see what might have spooked those francolins. And I hope maybe someone will pop their head out from here. Lots of eddy tracks again, but not so much in the eddies themselves. Down here. Oh, I can smell Ellie's.
Yeah.
The wind's blowing towards us. The Ellie's might be in here. Might have been behind us. Intriguing. Oh yeah, this is not going to be an easy spot to turn around in, unfortunately. That might be better. Okay, well I think let's make a swing by Treehouse Dam, see what's around that side. Maybe Nyala Plains. Nyala Plains? Impala Plains. Let's just mix all the names up. And I will swing by the hyena den again at some stage. We were there this morning. But just so we don't overload her with visits. And I will be going there, I think, tomorrow sometime. So everyone can have another chance to see them, hopefully. And we are starting to get even a bit bolder coming out and about while we were driving in, which was very cool. Oh, she's still there. Nice. I didn't see her. I saw her as we were going through, but I thought she moved.
Oh, they ran.
Yeah. There she goes. Oops. Yeah, she's at an odd angle, and I thought she ran off.
It was a very small one.
Very cool. Because I looked for her again as we came back and she wasn't there. So, relative to the Nyala that we've been seeing, but generally they don't have stripes in the body, they tend to have spots. There goes baby. And as the name suggests, they do live in the thick of the bush. There you go, you should be able to see the spots on her now. Females again don't have horns, just like the kudu and the Nyala. They're all relatives. Relatives of the eland as well. It's also a spiral horned antelope. And eland being the largest antelope in South Africa. And again, the males don't have as much on of a turn on the horns as even what the Nyala do. And they don't get as big as the Nyalas. Is that Glenn? Is that Glenn? Yep. Welcome on board, Glenn. And good to hear from you this afternoon. And why did I come out for a year? What made me come to South Africa and what made me stay for 9? Well, I came out to come and live out in the wild. As you felt, I've always wanted to come and see animals in the wild, but I didn't want to just come and visit it, I wanted to live it. And I wanted to experience living in another country and get to understand what it's like to live in that country. Because I say, if you do visit on a holiday, you don't necessarily get the overall impression. So I came out to do a field guiding course for 6 months, and then work experience for 6 months. So it was a year-long course, and I decided, okay, cool, that was long enough. That would give me the insight that I thought I needed. And I'd say it was a little bit longer than I anticipated. I thought like 6 to 8 months, but I thought, no, cool, 9. So came out here. They realised that I was going to get on the plane and would never go home. But me, on the other hand, thought, no, I'll be home for Christmas. No, that didn't quite happen. I loved it so much, doing the guiding and seeing the animals in the wild and really living the documentaries were showing as a child. Oh, I just fell in love with it all. I really did, and I fell in love with bush life. It's a very different way of life to living in the city. And yeah, I kind of forgot to go home. And every time I get to that point that I think, okay, cool, maybe it is time for me to go home, then something else pops up just as I'm making those decisions. And I've actually been lucky to follow my dreams, to live my dreams. And yeah, I've actually succeeded in realising a lot of those dreams. So I'm busy making new dreams, but absolutely loving the fact that I followed my dream. I had my parents' support, which really meant a lot, and I probably couldn't have done it without their support coming out here actually. But knowing that they were back home and they would support me no matter what gave me that strength, and I'm just so glad that I did, and they're so chuffed that I did follow my heart. But yeah, I still can't believe it's been 9 years. But to actually have the opportunity to guide in the world famous Sabi Sands for Wild Earth on Live Game Drive, I mean, wow. You don't want to turn that one down. That came about 3.5 years after I'd been guiding. So I'm hoping that if there's any people out there like me that have a dream, hopefully I'm living proof that you can follow that dream. And if you really want to do it, go for it. Life's too short not to.
Touche.
Yeah. I say, who would have thought? British girl out here guiding in South Africa. But it can happen. It can happen.
Yeah, not easy for a lady to come into this industry as well.
No, definitely not. But I stuck with it. And you get to experience this in real life. Oh, just something else. Absolutely. If I can convey even a fraction of that to you guys, then I'm so chuffed. Because it's something very special being out here. Once you've been out to Africa, it gets something, oh, there we go. This is what I mean, this is what I love about live safari. You never know what you're going to bump into. Well spotted. Didn't even lift up its head, hey?
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason, something was pulling me this side. Oh, it's still so exciting when you find a leopard head.
So close, wow.
Yeah, that's him being right next to the road. Now, how cool would it be if this is Karula? That would be something else. I don't think it is. We might have to wait until whoever is snoozing will lift up the head. My guess is it's one of her boys. Ingwe close to Chelapan. If I roll back a bit, do you think we might actually get to see the head?
I think it'll be a better chance. You don't want to disturb.
No, I'd roll back. Nope, can't roll back.
Looks fast asleep.
Yeah, I can copy you now. Yeah, it's an Ingwe at the pan close to Chelapan. Close to Chelapan. A Chelapan. A Chelapan on Twin Dam Road. this is actually a really nice shady spot. Hi Jeffrey in Texas. Just wanting to know if I ever been back to the UK to visit. Yes I have. I usually go home once a year. I always seem to manage to go home in winter. I have this romantic idea of fireplaces and being nice and cosy and drinking hot chocolate at night, and I keep forgetting you have to go out in the cold. I always forget about that bit. And certainly at the moment with my PhD I'm visiting a little bit more regularly just to try and have some time at the university so I can actually write and carry on with my thesis, all to do with the leopards over in an area that falls outside formerly protected areas. And believe me, you very rarely get to see leopards like this because they are persecuted in that area, so they've learnt to stay well away from people. So I rely on camera traps, but it is something else just seeing them like this. They don't need to worry, they don't have anything to worry about from humans. And you can see it makes a huge difference because they don't care about the vehicles. Say we're just driving along, didn't even put its head up. It's obviously listening to me talking, but they know that we're not a threat to them. They know that they can stay snoozing, they can do whatever they want and just live out their life. This is something that did actually amaze me when I first came to the sands, because as a child I always had this impression that leopards were always going to be sitting in trees and they'd only come down to drink or to feed, but they actually spend a lot of time on the ground and an amazing amount of time snoozing on the ground. And I really do think that they go into the trees if they have to, but they prefer to actually stretch out on the ground. But further north in Kenya, Tanzania way, they do have a lot of the tsetse flies and the biting flies. And it could be that where all the documentaries were filmed, that was going on, and that's why the leopards were sitting in the trees so much, to get away from that biting insect layer. And obviously being in the top of the tree, in the shade, much cooler, but there's a lot of cover here compared to the true Serengeti further north, and that could also have a big role to play. There's a lot of shelter from the sun here. As I say, the sun is starting to sink, so it shouldn't be too long before whoever it is actually waking up. The belly looks like they have had some form of a meal, but only small. Hello.
Just noticed we're here.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody. Quick off the mark there, and a lot of people saying this is Kunyuma. Oh, nice stretch. And he's also got those pale eyes like his father. Apparently Kunyuma has hearts on the right leg. I missed that. And apparently he's not a great lover of vehicles, but he is starting to relax around them, and you can see, yeah, not too fazed by us being here. There was a little bit of a, hey, what you doing? But obviously settled down again. He's showing us his belly, so that says to me that cat is very relaxed and is not seeing us as a threat at all. Lovely to see Kunyuma so close. And you can hear the birds giving the alarm call very close by. It looks like little netterkeys. Quite pale with a brown cap. He's actually come a little bit closer. He's right on top of the bush if you want to try and get him now. There we go. To hear you're on board. I hope you and your family are well. And Sulina wanting to know, aren't they more exposed when they're sleeping on the ground? And they are, Sulina. Especially out in the open like this. But you can see he's twitching his ears. That's what makes me think he knew we were here. He would have heard us coming. Oh, he is stunning. Oh, beautiful boy. It's amazing both boys have picked up those pale eyes from the father, from Vula. And look at the size of those paws. Oh, wow. The netterkeys are dying down, but they're still in the back. Hi Tim, welcome back on board from Arkansas. And Tim would like to know if they are vulnerable to hyenas on the ground, and yes they are. But the funny thing is, if there's no meat around, there doesn't seem to be as much rivalry. And we have seen the older brother of this little boy, Kunyuma, Mishu. He was sitting on a log, about the same age as what Kunyuma is now, coming up for 2 years old. He was sitting on a log, and a hyena came strolling around the corner. It might have even been Floppy Ear, which was the matriarch of the clan at the time. And she came right up to him, and I thought, oh, here comes trouble. And they were almost nose to nose. They're probably only separated by about a metre or so. And they both just looked at each other. And she turned and walked off, and he carried on sitting on the log. And I think it was because there was no food there. There was no reason for them to quarrel. Quite amazing. So I really do think it's when there's meat involved, that's when you really do get that aggression. But otherwise they seem to respect each other. Air from, come in. Air from, come in. As I say, judging by his belly, he has had something to eat. Hi, Rob. Rob saying that he thought the bird in the bush was a tawny flanked prinia, and the pale body and the dark cap is the giveaway for the netterkey. They are closely related though. And also the shape of the bird as well, if I can actually find the tawny flanked prinia. Sorry, I had another sister killer in my head. So this is the nether key here. So you can see that cap there quite nicely, and quite a dual breast. I would say quite a horizontal stance, and they don't cock the tail up. And if I can find the prunier for you. So this is the tawny flanked prunier, this one here. They tend to sit with the tail up, which we didn't see with that bird in the bush. And there was no eye stripe on the bird in the bush as well, from what I could see. And yeah, a few people asking about the drives, and just remember I'm just filling in for Mark. So Mark's going to be coming back on Monday, so I think his first drive is probably going to be Monday afternoon. So he'll be taking you on safari. But who knows what's round the corner? They're a beautiful boy. You can see that pink nose as well. Very characteristic of young leopards. And as they get older, the nose starts fading to a black colour. And we noticed Karula's went about 6 years old. It started getting very dark, and the same with the lines as well. You can see the old lines, very black nose. Karula's now 11 years old, having had 5 litters. So Kunyuma is the 4th litter, along with his brother, the quarantine male, gets shortens to Q male. And they really are just beautiful cats, and they're in such tip-top condition, they really are. And obviously she's taught them well once again. She is quite an amazing cat. She's managed to rear 4 litters through to adulthood. Unfortunately, we don't know what happened to her last daughter, Shavinzi. Once she got to about a year old, she disappeared. But they can be independent by 1 year old. And certainly around my way, we seem to see the leopards dispersing about a year and a half old. Whereas here in the sands, they tend to be closer to 2 years before they start deciding to leave the mother's territory, but they certainly seem to become independent about a year and a half-ish as well. And as I say, Karula actually has had her 5th litter while the 2 boys are utilising her territory. And it could be, and I do remember her doing this with Misha and Djuma. She would go to the extremities of her territory, and she was seen in the south close to, I think she was actually on Chitwa. I thought she was on Cheetah Plains, but I think it was Chitwa, which is just the next property down on the southern side, which would be the extremity of her area. And I've never known her to push that far south before, but it could be because the boys are utilising this area. But the males do seem to hold on for a little bit longer than the females do. Same with Mishu and Induna. Mishu, he actually went a little bit earlier than Induna, but Induna stayed around for a good 3 years. And I say, having the interactions that we documented here on Wild Earth, And last year I wrote the paper along with my supervisor from Reading University and his colleague as well, Mark Fellows and Becky Thompson. They helped me to write the paper so that it would actually be accepted by the academic world, so we could actually get these interactions out there, because there was very little in the academic world documenting interactions in general with leopards. They're supposed to be solitary creatures, but there was even less. I think there was one line in a book that was written in 2013 that male leopards may interact with their cubs occasionally, but this was even more than occasionally. This was the male actually interacting with his cubs fairly often enough that the female actually, well, Kunyuma actually left Shivinzi and Shivambalana with the father when she ran off after a deka. And the fact that we actually had the father, Shivinzi, Shivambalana, when they were a year old, and the 3-year-old son who was also supposed to be fathered by the same male, Yambidi Ordan, and Kunyuma. Oh look, he's dreaming. You see that paw twitching? Just like your cat or dog back home. And thank you so much everybody for sending in all your best wishes. It really has been such a wonderful time here. But as I say, we've still got a few more drives yet before Monday. So don't panic, I'm not going anywhere just yet. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do a fireside chat. I think Mark's only coming back on Monday. And unfortunately my research does call me back. I must go and change my cameras. Otherwise I'll have gaps in my research. But I'm so thrilled to have been able to spend some time with you. And as I say, who knows, maybe I'll get another chance to do a fill-in at some stage. But as I say, I'm a year and a half down the process of the PhD. I managed to pass my upgrade, so I am on a full PhD, and I've got another year and a half at least to go. So that's definitely worth pursuing and making sure that I finish that and get that information out there into the rest of the world about the leopards that I'm studying. Because as we've said on numerous occasions now over these drives, oh look at this. I wonder what he's dreaming about. But what is true for animals in one area, there'll be similarities and differences for the same species in a different area, because there's so many different factors that will affect them. So to get those differences and similarities out there, I feel is very important, and help them understand how many leopards are actually in South Africa, because no one knows. No one actually knows. And welcome on board to you this afternoon, Ramar. Great to hear you with us this afternoon here on Wild Earth, watching this leopard live from the African bush. I really wonder what he actually was dreaming about. But Ramar wondering how often they need to eat to stay alive. And it really depends on what they have just eaten. So it looks from his belly he has eaten something. Small meal, it's not very extended. So it might well have been a guinea fowl or a francolin, or maybe a small antelope like a deka. Oh, look at that. But if they've eaten that kind of animal, then they probably will need to hunt for the next day or the day after. It won't last him too long. But if he's hunted something like an impala, then that can last maybe 4 or 5 days. And leopards are amazing creatures. They really are powerhouses of note. They have been known to take out 3-meter crocodiles. I've seen pictures of leopards sitting in a tree with half a juvenile or sub-adult giraffe. It was quite a lot larger than a juvenile. Now, whether they actually killed the sub-adult giraffe, I'm not sure. But there is a possibility when the giraffes actually put their heads down to drink, they are extremely vulnerable, and if there was that opportunity, the leopard might have taken it, grabbed hold of the neck and stopped the giraffe from actually putting its head up. It could have been as easy as that. And the leopards around where I'm studying them, they've actually been pulling down fully grown female kudu. Good afternoon, Ephraim. I've got an Ingwe between Twin Dams and Twin Dams Road at Chelapan. Okay, copy. Now, I'm always willing just to stay that bit longer with leopards and other cats, just because eventually they'll stand up and do something. They're quite fidgety when it comes to these animals. I copied that, thank you. Now that's a dilemma. Welcome on board, Kathleen, here in West Virginia. Great to have you with us. And Kathleen would like to know what the fur is like on a leopard. Is it just like a domestic cat, or is it more coarse? And I have been lucky enough to touch a wild leopard while it was sedated, and it was actually quite soft. It was a little bit more coarse than your average house cat, but it was pretty soft. And just pure muscle. Now, as I said before, it's I'm always willing just to stay that little bit longer with a sleeping cat, because they do fidget, not like the buffalo that will just stay put all day, or the hippo, they'll stay put in one area all day, because the cats do fidget and they get irritated by the flies. But there's just been a call to come through saying that there's 2 Styx lionesses that crossed over Gary, Maine at some stage this afternoon, and they've headed north. Now, I know there is a vehicle following up on that. That could be why I was wanting to go through to Treehouse Dam. Maybe they're around that area. But I'll keep my ear to the ground and just see. But this is where I'm going to be very torn now. So maybe we'll stay with him for another 5 minutes and then maybe go and see if we can't catch up with those lionesses. But it depends on where they are. It does depend on what time. Oh, sorry, little one, I'll try not to do that. Yeah, so they could be going up Rebecca's, or they could be going up Shaban Road. crossing straight over into the bush. We might be split here. I'll throw it out to you guys. Do you want to stay with the leopard or should we go in search of the lion? See what split we have. Because say there's no guarantee we'll find the lions. But obviously they have crossed over, so there could be a possibility. It's the two sticks that were in the south. So if you want to vote, #SafariLive. Questions at WildEarthTV and we'll see what the split is. I think quite a few of you might vote lion. As I say, it depends on who's on board. And I say, this cat could do anything. He could stay sleeping, he could get up in the next couple of minutes and start moving. You can see the paws really nicely, those oval toes and the back pad. Probably about the same size as my hand, but a lot more powerful. Ah, okay, a lot of people wanting to stay with the leopard. Okay, so a lot of people asking to stay with the leopard, so we'll stay with the leopard. I'll keep my ear to the radio if those lions do rock up, because I know there is a vehicle that's going to go and look for them. So he might be slightly closer to the area than I am. So if he does see them, then we'll see if we can go and try and catch up with them. But I suppose we are approaching the end of drive as well. And as I say, anything is possible. There could be an impala that comes to the dam, or that this little pan to come and drink. Could be that a herd of elephants come through here. Anything is possible. And it is getting slightly cooler. So you can see the spots on his fur, and especially the rosettes on his body. The spots are around the chin and around the face, but those spots are all unique to the leopard. And as I said before about the face, a lot of people recognise Kunyuma because of the spot pattern, and on his right leg there's the heart patterns, so I have to remember that one. So if I was going to try and ID that from a picture, I would take the left leg probably. I won't take the belly as such, we don't get that opportunity to see the bellies too much. But certainly the collar and the shoulder area, we'll try and match that up, just to confirm that it is who we think it is. And another way that they do ID them here a lot of people asking to try and look for the lion tomorrow. I think that's definitely going to be the case. Hopefully the lions do stick around on the property. But another way that they do ID the leopards is the spot pattern above the whiskers. But I always have to laugh at myself because you have to use binoculars to see what's going on there, rather than just looking at the actual facial features. There we go, we're yawning, so we could get a bit of movement. Now the yawning can also help the cat to increase the amount of oxygen going into its body. So quite often the cat will yawn 2 or 3 times and then stand up. Sometimes they'll yawn, lie back down for a bit, and then they'll stand up. And that tongue is very rough, just like your house cat's tongue. Got a bit of an itch there. But that tongue is very rough. And you don't want to be getting licked by that tongue. Take the top layer of your skin off for sure. And obviously that's going to help them when they feed on meat. You quite often see lions and leopards and cheetah licking their meat, and that's to actually help loosen the flesh from the bone. Look at that. Oh, magic. How can you not love Africa? Now, a lot of the cats do have some form of necklace, markings around the neck. Oh, there you go. How many times have you seen your house cat do that? Oh, can we zoom in on the pad? You can really see that the 3 lobes on the back pad now. Look at that. As I say, the necklace can be bold markings, it can be continuous stripes, it can be spots. And a lot of leopards do have the marks above the eyes that you might be noticing, the thick black marks that go vertical above the eyes. But if you look carefully, they can be slightly wider than some, thinner, shorter, longer, so there are slight variations, but that's why I don't tend to use those marks for identification purposes. But quite often between those lines you get different marks. On his older brother, some people could see a face between those 2 marks. And just like a typical cat, they do not like to be dirty.
Yep.
Yep. ready for what lies ahead tonight. Are you going to go and have a bit of a drink? Nope, I'm going to have a bit of a scratch. Just keep an eye on it. Where is he? He's coming out onto the road. There he goes. Let's see if I can actually turn around here quickly. Hi, Sally. In the UK, do leopards have dew claws? Yes, they do. So those are the claws. So they've got the 4 toes, and then their 5th toe is much higher up on their front paws. So that would technically be their thumb, but it's very high up, so you don't get to see it on their track. Now again, I don't want to get too close to him and chase him off with the vehicle, because again I know he has been known to not like vehicles, so I'm giving him even more of a wider berth than what I would normally for the leopards. But as I say, we have had a really nice close view of him, so just want to keep him nice and relaxed. You can see him, he was holding his tail up high. I think there was some birds calling and he was like, yep, I'm here. You don't need to shout about it. And he's going to start looking out for the next meal by the looks of it. Oh, there was a bit of lightning up ahead. There's a storm cloud building. You can see that tail twitching just like your house cat does when he gets excited. And it's quite funny when they're cubs, they kind of forget about it, and they actually hold the tail up really high and wave the tail around, and the animal can see. So realise that there is a cat there. Very funny. If he's just walking, I'll give you a little bit of light, but as soon as I think he sees something, then we'll have to take the light off, just in case there is something there. You don't want to give whatever's there an unfair advantage. You can see it's still a little bit light on your screen. Ways mobile east towards Chelapad. You can see the white on the back of the ears really stands out, and that's why they do have them on the ears, so that they can use those ears to convey how they're feeling, whether they're being aggressive or friendly, so other cats can see clearly. He's got his mother's walk, that's for sure. There you go, having a sniff around. Now what we saw with his brother, the quarantine male, he was going through the motions of scent marking, and I could smell a little bit of the popcorn smell, which is what leopard scent marking actually smells like. But it was a lot fainter than what it should have been for a cat that had just scent marked, and I think he was going through the motions, but maybe something wasn't coming out, and he was actually scent marking over somebody else's scent mark, which is what I was smelling, and that could be why Andrew couldn't smell it as well. Something's really bothering him. And I think we've got him toileting there. Interesting, his brother went just off the road and he kept going just off the road, and that's a way that leopards will actually scent mark, and it'll be a visual as well. But absolutely wonderful. I think we'll see if we can stay with him just that little bit longer for you all. We'll see how far he does get before we lose him. Oh, elephants are not being very happy either. They're trumpeting there. Yeah, if we're good to continue for a bit. If we're good to continue for a bit, that'd be great. They didn't seem too worried about the elephants trumpeting. So we'll stay with him just that little bit longer for you, just see what he gets up to. And maybe we'll be lucky enough to hear lions calling. But if he is going to head straight, which I think he might do, into that thick bush, unfortunately we're not going to be able to follow him. Well, you can see I'm being very careful not to shine the light into his face so it blinds him. It's going to head straight into that thick stuff. Yeah, it's just disappeared in there. Just go around the tree here. We might just see another view of him as he leaves. But I think that is going to be it. If he was going to go onto the road, we might have been able to follow him a little bit more. There he is. Something's really irritating. Might have been one or two insects or mosquitoes or something biting him. He's really not impressed. He keeps licking his flanks. There he goes. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I think he's going to go straight into that bush there. I'd say very, very thick there. But absolutely magic to see him. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly have. Very special to see a leopard and to sit with a leopard. Ah, wow. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it this afternoon. And hopefully we'll have a chance to catch up with those 6 females tomorrow morning. That'll be very cool to catch up with them. And keep a listen out on Gary camera. You never know, you might be able to hear the lions calling, and that's always very special as well. Very typical African bush, and you never know, maybe you'll hear the leopard calling at some stage as well. Oh, I love those sounds. The woodland kingfisher is still calling, but it will be a few weeks before it starts heading back towards the centre of Africa, so do enjoy hearing the woodlands kingfisher, because as we go into winter you're not going to hear it as much. But from myself and... okay, we do have a little bit of time. That's very cool. I can see there is actually a bit of lightning just behind the trees there, so I think we might get a storm. Actually, if we can swing around, if we do have a little bit of time, it looks like Jupiter is there. I think I can just go back a little bit. So we've got Jupiter on the one side and we've got Venus on the other. There we go, so Jupiter's just on your screen to the left. Actually, you might just be able to see one or two moons there in the shot. There are 4 moons, the Galilean moons, the largest moons that orbit Jupiter. Now, when I was a kid, there was 20 odd moons, and now they've discovered, I think, 64 to date. And yeah, you can see there's one on the left, and I think there's either 2 or 3 on the right, so you might be able to see all 4 Galilean moons there of Jupiter. And Jupiter does have a single ring around it. When I was a kid, it had no ring. It's amazing.
So what are the names of the moons?
We've got Io, Ganymede, Callisto, and who's the last one? Europa, that's the last one. Go ahead. Ooh. Okay, copy. I've just lost this Ingwe, Fambert South. Okay, copy. I'll let you know if I find anything quarantine. Have a good drive back. And there's Venus. Just as bright as Jupiter at the moment. Venus is the brightest object in the night sky, closely followed by Jupiter. And on some occasions you can see Mercury. Mercury would be a little bit lower down, and it's a pinprick of light, and a lot of people have seen it, but they've just never realised it's actually Mercury. That is the other planet. The reason why they shine back so brightly is because they reflect the light from the sun, just like the moon. And it's believed if the moon actually had cloud, it would shine back about 7 times brighter than what it does. So even just the fact that its rocky surface is able to shine back the light from the sun. And because Venus is cloudy, that's why she shines back so brilliantly. And obviously Jupiter, being the largest planet in the solar system, it's extremely large, and it's also very cloudy. That's why it also shines back brightly. And the reason why it doesn't twinkle is because it's a constant light that's being reflected, whereas stars actually produce their own light. So it's not a constant light, it's changing all the time because they produce their own light. You might see the planets twinkle a little bit on the horizon because of all the dust in the atmosphere, but once they get above that, then you'll see they don't twinkle. But since we have got a little bit of time, let's carry on driving towards Quarantine, because that's apparently where the tracks were lost. You never know, we might be looking to see those lions. If you're able just to shine behind it, that's great, thank you. Oh yeah, sorry, I just asked him to turn the light around because it was blinding me, I couldn't see where I was going. So everyone's seeing a black screen. I was getting blinded. Okay. Okay, so let's see. bit lucky, guys. It would be nice to catch up with the sticks. They were actually the first pride I ever met. Just at least for a few minutes, but we'll see if we do find anything there. But otherwise, cool. Just having a look at the stars. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. As I say, absolutely magic to see Kunyuma, and as I say, there is something very special about sitting with a leopard in Africa. There is something just breathtaking about it. So I'm so glad we could share that with you live here on Wild Earth. From myself, Andrew, Brian and the fun back in final control. Thanks for all your questions, everybody. Thank you so much, Andrew, for your camera work. You did some amazing shots this afternoon. It was brilliant. But do take care and do try and join us if you can on our next drive tomorrow morning. But otherwise, I'll see you back on board at some stage. Take care, everybody, and bye for now.